Another chilly day. It is, I guess, technically mid-January, early January. I think we've reached the double digits. Yeah, we have reached the double digits because my wife's birthday was yesterday. But today I have another stout. This is my second stout that I'm drinking and recording a video for today. And this is also my first ever beer. This is another of the Bizarre Brewing beers, which I have really enjoyed the Bizarre Brewing beers that I've had so far. They have been excellent beers. At least one of them has been 4 out of 4 stars. That was the Flood, a London-style porter. This is the Crow of Desperation, which is an English-style rye stout. That was probably out of camera view. I'm sorry. I'm figuring this out. So I've got these new battery-powered lights, yay, which should help, especially with outdoor shots. So the Crow of Desperation, an English-style rye stout. I'm not going to read anything about it. I have not read anything about it. A stout, being a stout porter, a dark beer, right? Generally higher ABV. What is the ABV on this one? 4.4%. Wow. Interesting. Okay, so they are definitely going for traditional levels of alcohol in that. While it was possible and certainly not uncommon for beers to have a higher ABV in the past, generally speaking, the sorts of beers that you would be drinking as a common person would be relatively low ABV and would be more about being liquid bread than about a way to get drunk. Your pint of bitters wasn't usually enough to knock you back. So this being a stout porter, so a strong beer intended for working class people doing heavy labor, especially during cold times of the year, it's pretty normal or expected for it to be relatively low ABV. It's not, obviously, it's not an imperial porter, but 4.4% is probably the lowest I have ever seen an actual stout advertised for. So that's really something. Rye will bring perhaps a little bit of a spiciness to the malt. And yeah, so let's see. Darkness-wise, you can see a little bit of light through this. It's a really dark brown rather than a black. And around the edges of the glass, you can see through it. So not nearly so dark as the stout I had earlier today, but it's still pretty dark. The head is willing to come back. Kind of a brown sugar butter kind of color there. I like brown sugar butter. No, man, go on. Buzz off. Yeah. Whoa, wow. Okay, there's a lot going on. And it's not my hands. That's good. There's an earthiness to this. There's also molasses. Definitely that rye kind of bite spiciness. Roasty. I'm not sure if the sharp aroma is rye or smokiness. I think it's the rye. I don't think there's smokiness in here. There's roastiness, there's rye, and there's a really, really nice earthiness. That smells very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. It smells really good, like unique. I'm not going to say tasty because it's an aroma, but it smells like it's going to taste good. So, tasty. I feel like there's something else. Perhaps a little bit vegetable or fruit. Maybe it's a root vegetable, maybe like, not carrots, but some kind of sweeter vegetable, or like mild fibrous fruit. Not like coconut, but not as sweet as apple. It could be carrot. I'm not going to say rutabaga. It's more generic, I think. Maybe like beetroot or something like that. Yeah, it smells good. Well, let's drink it. Okay. Okay. If you're expecting like a thick, sweet, dark stout, that's not this. I could say it tastes a little bit thin, and I think that's the ABV speaking. But that's not to say that there isn't a lot of flavor in here. It's just lighter than one may expect. Wow. Okay. So this is pretty unique. This is going to be, I think, challenging to try and suss out. It is malty and earthy. Not like mushroom earth, more like good dirt earth. There's a little bit of sweetness, but it's low and kind of playing in the background. A lot of time with a stout, it's almost syrupy in its dark sweetness. Like the flavor is kind of mouth coating, the texture even mouth coating and thick and full bodied. And this has a lot of flavor, but it's not thick. And it doesn't have that same really unctuous body that you might expect with a stout. Yeah, so sweetness, maybe even a little bit of a carob, which is a vegetable chocolate replacement, which I was never a fan of, but kind of a mild, dusty, dark, roasty sweetness. And that kind of roasty character follows through like from the beginning all the way through to the end. And it's there in varying quantities or varying volumes throughout the life of the beer. In the middle, it feels like some of the roastiness kind of fades for a little bit, and you're left with this like thinly earthy, still a little bit sweet body, where it's less roasty and more earthy. And then it feels like that fades, and the roastiness kind of picks up again and closes the beer out. Yeah, this is interesting. I think with a stout, typically in the U.S., we're expecting something that's thicker and sweeter, right? And that's not even necessarily a barrel-aged stout, but just stouts in general, thicker, sweeter, darker, etc. This is thick, but it doesn't. Or sorry, this is sweet, a little bit sweet, but it doesn't have that thickness, and that's really, really unique. I think so. This is an interesting beer, and it's one that I'm enjoying. There's a lot of stuff going on, and all the flavors are really nice. They might be a little bit disconnected, like they're individual flavors existing within the beer rather than part of a cohesive whole. But it's just really different from what you're going to expect. Obviously, at 4.4%, you're not really tasting any of the alcohol. There's no warmth. There's no burn to this. There is just the flavors that are there are relative. I'm not going to say they're light, because they are still dark and strong. They're just not 8% or 10% ABV strong. They're 4% strong, and they're pleasant, and I'm enjoying them. But it's really different from what I certainly expect with a stout, and probably from what you would expect with a stout as well. Yeah, it's an interesting beer. Even a little bit of black licorice. The roastiness feels like it's the primary thing that carries on as you drink more of it. And it even tastes a little bit more smoky as it warms. And that's just interesting, more interesting stuff. That's what's left on your palate, is kind of a roasty smokiness, which is pretty pleasant. I would imagine that with a pipe, you'd want to use a mild tobacco with this. I don't think this would stand up to like a really robust, but I think this would work pretty well because of the flavors and aromas it has and the things it leaves on your palate. And that's pretty pleasant. Yeah, this is an interesting beer. This makes me really want to visit the UK and drink very traditional, in the local pub, beers, the sorts of beers that they've been drinking for hundreds of years. I would imagine that this is going to be closer to what I would experience there than, say, Elysian's Dragon's Tooth, or Goose Island's Bourbon County Stout, or even I don't know, I have some Rogue Heritage Stout in my fridge right now Deschutes Heritage Stout in my fridge that I'm looking forward to drinking, because Rogue isn't around anymore. That I'm looking forward to drinking, and I hope to have a video up before too much longer. But I'm going to guess that's going to be an American style, full-bodied, sweet, syrupy, delicious, filling, warming stout. And this is drinkable, and this is not refreshing. It's not warming though. It's sustaining, I suppose you could say, because it has enough body without having all the extra alcohol. Sustaining. It's warming in that it gives you caloric intake, not warming in that it, sends the blood to your skin the way alcohol does. So very different. And I appreciate it for that. I'm going to give this 3 stars out of 4. I think it's another good example of a beer. It's worth drinking, but it's not necessarily going to be what you expect picking up a stout, right? And not that that's a drawback, just that it might take a little pondering. So, and that's what this channel is about, right? Pondering the beer, sometimes effectively, often inefficiently. Anyways, this is me, Matthew. I have been drinking and enjoying Crow of Desperation, an English-style rye stout by Bizarre Brewing, and I will catch y'all on the flip side. Herbal, that's the word. Earthy and herbal. That's really the dominant character of this beer, and that's pretty unique. And I don't think it's tuned for the American palate, which isn't a bad thing. It's a way to get out a bit without getting too far.